Hello, welcome to the SAG-AFTRA Foundation's Conversations at Home program. I'm Dino-Ray Ramos with Diaspora. Before we are joined by our guest today, I want to let you know that the SAG-AFTRA Foundation is a nonprofit organization that relies entirely on donations to provide emergency assistance and free educational programs to SAG-AFTRA artists. This conversation is made possible thanks to the generosity of our supporters. Over the past year, the foundation has given over $7 million in COVID relief to more than 7,500 performers. If you are a SAG-AFTRA artist and need help, please ask. And if you can help, please give. Information can be found in the description of this video. Thank you for your support. Now, without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce actors Emeraude Toubia, Mark Indelicato, and casting director Leslie Litt of With Love. Thank y'all for joining us. Look at us here zooming.
Zooming.
I know, from the comfort of our homes.
From the comfort of home. As much as we would love to be with each other and kiki and have fun, this is good too, right? So.
Yeah.
But of course, I'm a fan of With Love. It was a dollop of joy during the pandemic, and it was a hug. It was love, as the title suggests. It's with love, So I just really enjoyed this. So I do want to start with Emeraude and Mark. What was what was it about this series that initially attracted you to it? And how did you connect with your characters, Lily and Jorge Jr.?
I mean, the show is just amazing. It's a romantic comedy that revolves around the holidays, 5 different holidays. And it's something that I haven't really seen out there. We usually see a movie, it's just, one holiday, and now we get to explore like so many different holidays. And Lily Diaz, I don't know, she's just a cocktail of emotions. She's a girl, that just broke up with her perfect on paper boyfriend and is now seeking what true love is. She is trying to deal with her family traditions and societal expectations on what a woman's life should be. And she's trying to break those barriers. She's trying to decide what a woman is to her and what she wants to be. And I kind of felt a connection because I was kind of going through that in my personal life. So it's just really nice. And I talked to my girlfriends and everyone's like, yes, like why does society and why is our family constantly telling us what we should be? We should be what we want to be. So I immediately connected with that. And of course, Gloria Calderón-Kellett. Who is not dying to work with this incredible powerhouse of human? So it was just overall, it was just a wonderful experience. The audition was amazing and just honored to be a part of it.
Yeah, I was attracted obviously to working with Gloria first and foremost. And then, when I read the character of Jorge, I was like, oh, like I know this guy, I felt he felt familiar to me in a lot of ways. And I also, I loved that Gloria wrote characters that love really hard and really kind of protect one another, especially like that was something that I really loved about the dynamic between Lily and Jorge, is that there was truly, yes, did they kind of have their few tiffs and whatever, sure, but at the end of the day, they really are each other's ride or dies. Yeah. They really are each other's best friends. And I just found that relationship to be something that is very, very real, and also was kind of a breath of fresh air in a lot of ways. And I also really loved that Gloria wrote characters that are really flawed human beings. Like they're well, like rounded and well, discovered and understood like people. They're really realized characters, Yeah. And I think that is just, that's relatable on so many levels for viewers. And I felt that the audience could see a little bit of themselves in each one of these characters for sure.
Definitely. Saw myself in both of y'all, by the way, because I'm a mess all around, so that's good. but Leslie, what was it about Emeraude and Mark that stood out when you were trying to find the perfect Lily and Jorge?
Well, exactly. We are so lucky to have both of them, honestly. Yeah. But you're always looking for actors who are going to bring the script to life.
Mm.
And when we saw Emeraude's tape, we knew that she was our Lily. I mean, she had this huge monologue, which is not, it didn't end up in the show, but she had all these different levels. I mean, the comedy, the drama, vulnerability, and she was just engaging and jumped off the screen. So, you know, we knew that she was our Lily. And Mark, he was actually a little bit younger than the role was initially written, but when we got his tape, he was so fun and lovable and natural, and his acting is just like effortless. And so then after that, we had a chem read with both of them, and like they said, the chemistry, even though it was on Zoom, was undeniable. And they had to play brother and sister, believable brother and sister. But as they said, they had to, you know, be lovable and they're best friends. And it really came across. So,
Yeah.
you know, really clear.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, because we seldom see a lot of brother-sister dynamics like within film and TV. And I get excited because it's only me and my sister. So like when I see like a brother-sister dynamic, I'm like, oh, ooh. But then you add in the queerness of it all, and you added the brownness of it all, and the immigrantness of it all. I'm just like, oh, okay, this is me. You know, I'm not Latino, but you know, I'm Filipino. Where Filipino is like Latino adjacent, right? You know?
Yes.
We're
we're thinking they're Latino last names, but are they really? Mark, are you an only child?
Me?
Yes.
Yes.
We're both only child.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, neither of us have siblings.
Like, Destiny brought us together to be like,
well, I'm glad you said that, because it's like, since y'all are only children, how did you like create this brother sister dynamic, and then also kind of adding those nuances of being from a Latinx background and like kind of infusing that in?
I didn't really, I mean, I approached it again. I just like want to preface this by saying, like, I felt like a lot of the work that needed to be done about, like, at least the work that I needed to do to prepare to play Jorge was already really on the page. Gloria really gave all of us a huge head start. Because of, like I said before, like of these like self-realized, totally actualized characters that really jumped off the page. But I looked at Lily and Jorge's relationship less as a brother and sister dynamic than a best friend dynamic. And perhaps that's because I don't have siblings of my own, but I do have best friends. But I feel like, you know, the ways in which they interact with one another throughout the season, besides, you know, like kind of covering for each other with their mom and dad or whatever, like they really talk to each other like best friends. They joke like best friends. They truly are. I just saw them more as best friends than that happened to be brother and sister.
Yeah.
Rather than brother and sister that were best friends, if that makes sense.
No, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Mark pretty much said it all. Gloria just writes crisp dialogue. It's just naturally flows. It's so real and human. And yeah, like most of the work was really done on the paper, and all we had to do is just open our mouths and say it. But it was fun.
And Gloria also let us really like riff and improvise and do like some of the stuff that you see between Emeraude and I that ended up in the show is improvised jokes.
Yeah.
That kind of just came to us like while we were, you know, we would just keep rolling and just go back and do a series of things. And I also felt that was, we were so lucky to have Gloria there every single day with us on set, especially like in the middle of a pandemic and all of that stuff. Like we were very, very fortunate to have the person that created the show there with us every single day, because
every day she was the first one in, the last one out. She was holding our hand throughout the whole time.
And that was what was so great, because I did feel the freedom to be able to kind of riff and improvise, and then she would come in and be like, okay, I love that, but like, what about this instead? And like adding to it, and really like championed our own interpretation of these characters as well, which I felt like really fortunate to have, for sure.
Yeah, I think if anyone ever meets Gloria, it's just, she just radiates this like love and positive energy, and
she's so genuine.
Right?
She really cares about people. You know, Gloria's the type of person that opens the door and leaves it really wide so people could follow, you know, and I feel not a lot of people do that. And she really cares about you. I mean, she does these like Twitter Q&As.
Yes.
Gives time to people. I think the most valuable thing you can give to someone is your time, and she's constantly giving it to people she doesn't even know. So that just shows how kind she is.
And it's like, also, when does she sleep? You know, it's like,
When does she's a vampire?
I don't know.
Man, I remember because I did a story on her like a while back, like a day in the life of, and I would then like, she told me her schedule, and I was like, oh, and you have kids, and you put them to bed every single night. I'm just like, you know,
we don't know how she does it.
I was like, yeah, I mean, it's like she's just wild, but also, you know, I'm glad that, again, it's like this conversation's flowing, because you're kind of like leading into my next question for Leslie, is because, like, you know, these characters are very lived in, and this family is very lived in. It's like, oh, they've known each other for a long time, and you know, it has that family feel. Leslie, how did you work with Gloria to create this family dynamic, and like choosing like kind of the pieces of this like puzzle that is with love?
Yeah, it was a very collaborative experience. I worked with Gloria before, so we sort of have a shorthand, which is really great. But that was really important to me, to us, because the audience has to buy that this is a big loving family who are connected and at ease and familiar. There's a familiarity within them, you know? So it was, like you said, it was just pieces of a puzzle that kind of one by one, I think, Emeraude and Mark were the first to be cast, and then it, you know, radiated out from there. But we would just spitball ideas back and forth, Gloria and I, and it just, you know, came together. So lots and lots of people,
lots of good people, and it
lots of really good people.
Yeah. and I also want to say, it's like, when you watch a TV show or a film, there are plenty out there where you could just tell there's a vibe. There's like kind of that you could tell that it wasn't just good on screen, but behind the scenes too. And you feel that with a show like this. And I'm not just sucking up to y'all. I'm like really being.
You know, I have to say, because I wasn't on set or anything like that, but when I watched it, and so I don't see dailies, it put a huge smile on my face.
Right?
Out, like, not even that I was a part of it. I just wanted more. It was great. You just feel it.
Yeah, I mean, as an actor, it's kind of hard to really judge your work, or to really, you know, see it clearly, see the show clearly, because I mean, you're part of it. You worked on it with people you love and care about. But someone that really stood out to me was Gloria. I mean, yes, she's a creator and showrunner, but you know, even on set, like, I was like, okay, well, you know, she acts, and but when I saw her on screen, I was like, this woman is like the star of the show. Like, she nails every joke. Like, all of my friends were like, we love Gloria on the show. We love Tia Gladys. Like, we need her in our life. Like, we want to know more about her love life and what she's doing.
Exactly.
We could easily
have I mean, we could easily have a spinoff, but also for a lot of families, everyone has that auntie. Everyone has that. Everyone has that. I mean, y'all call it tia. In the Filipino culture, we call it tita, close enough, you know, and just auntie in general, who is kind of cool, has a wild life that she kind of teases about. Yeah. And then she has a little trashiness in her and ratchetness, and we love it. We are here for it. Yeah. And it's the aunt that you go to when you are tired of your parents.
Exactly.
Yeah.
For Mark, you know, how important was it for? Well, I want to first off say, like, it's seldom we get to see wholesome queer relationships on screen. I mean, I think for so long, film and TV has depicted queer relationships as dangerous, you know, or like there's always kind of a kill your gays trope, a kill your queers trope, and this was, I don't want to say it's the first time, but it was one of the first times I've seen this queer relation, you and with Vincent's character, and we don't see that a lot. And I was just like thinking about this before I came on, and I was like, wow, it's very wholesome. A wholesome queer relationship is something you don't hear. And even with like Isis's character, who I love Isis, by the way, too.
Her character, her love relationship on the story, I think, is the first ever to be done.
Yes. Yeah. And it's just very, as a queer person, it's just very healthy. to see. Yeah. So for you, like working with Vincent and like working with Gloria and just kind of sculpting this relationship out, how was that for you?
I think that, one of the things that attracted me to the show in general as well, like was, that facet of Jorge's kind of trajectory and narrative, in having a healthy relationship and having a relationship that was so healthy that I feel like the subtext of that was, it's so healthy, and I've never like I'm talking as Jorge, and I've never had this experience before, and everything that I've seen in media or whatever is telling me that it can't be this perfect, so I'm going to try and sabotage it. And I think that was his motivation behind trying to sabotage his relationship with Henry.
Yeah.
He was always, constantly looking for something to be wrong. And I think that the subtext of that, kind of, if you read between the lines, is that it's because we've only seen, really, for the most part, very unhealthy queer relationships, like very tumultuous queer relationships in media. And I think that, I think that Gloria just wanted not just Jorge and Henry's relationship, but every kind of romantic relationship in the show to be varied and have multiple levels, just like any real relationship would, but also, kind of end with joy.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that the intention of the show was to make people happy. And I think that, obviously, as you get to know these characters as the season progressed, like, you're rooting for these relationships. But even if you're rooting for a relationship, there has to be some kind of tension, and there has to be some sort of issue there, right? Just to make entertaining television.
Yeah.
But I really, I think that with Jorge and Henry, it really goes to show that Jorge, like, tortured this guy, and he really, like, in a lot of ways, and to see the kind of unconditional love that this man has for Jorge was very sweet to see. That, like, I don't know, I just found it to be very, very sweet and touching when I read it for the first time. And I also loved, obviously, playing the comedy of trying to sabotage it,
Yeah. I do like, you just pointed about how like the character of Jorge was probably influenced, like, oh, this is not supposed to work out. It's basically saying the world's telling you don't deserve this love. And then you're kind of just like, oh, okay, if I don't deserve it, then I'm going to wreck it, because it's going to make it easier for me to walk away. I never realized that. Look at that. Come on.
I know. Listening to you now as well makes me think about it, and it's a really smart way to approach it.
And I think that was all, I think that the writers did a really lovely job of it not being that obvious, that I like, you know what I mean? I also really loved too that the writers, just in general, I mean, again, testament to Gloria of including so many young queer writers in the room and giving them a seat at the table, literally, to help us tell these very varied queer stories. Our lived experiences are obviously not the same. I mean, I had a very similar experience to Jorge in terms of, like, my family really accepting me and loving me when I came out, of not really having a tough go of it in that way. And also, my dad being a very kind of typical East Coast Italian man, like, just very, very kind of emotionally closed off, and kind of having to have those conversations with him about accepting me and whatever. And I think that when it comes to Isis's character's journey, when it comes to Soul's journey, when it comes to Jorge and Henry's relationship, there were so many queer people at the table writing these stories as well, helping Gloria write these stories as well, which I also think lends itself to a way more, again, realized, actualized story,
Yes, well, I mean, telling these stories accurately and authentically, I think, is what gives the people watching just such a honest and real perspective, right? Like, we're showing the world that we could be role models, right? We're showing the world someone to be inspired by. I feel that's why it's so important to have these stories being told authentically.
Going to that, it's like, I always wonder what would, like, if I were 15 years old or 10 years old and I would have watched this, if my life would have been different, right? It's like, part of me is like, oh, it's not fair, but also I'm like, oh, it's like, but also it's like, oh no, I'm glad this is out, because now this younger generation who probably may be having, struggling with their identity, or, just, even their queerness, seeing this story play out, it's kind of beautiful. For Emeraude, being, you're the character. Okay, Lily is a mess. But we're all a mess. But it's like, and then like, how was it? This sounds kind of like a trite question, but being a modern day woman, but because dating is so. Listen.
There is not even a word probably to describe dating today. Like, it's like, what is dating? First of all, for me and Lily, I grew up watching, like Reese Witherspoon and, Sweet Home Alabama, Julia Roberts, and Jennifer Lopez, which was the first time I kind of saw myself on screen. And Jennifer Lopez broke so many barriers for women like me. So just being able to play this romantic girl, messy, doesn't know what she wants in life. I just like really drew inspiration from all these women that I grew up watching. And, I got to like run in the rain and kiss the guy that I like. So to me, like that was like just magical. And so it was like in a fairy tale dream of like what little Emeraude dreamed of, moving to Hollywood. I mean, I don't even think my dreams were even that big. And now I'm here. Still so much to learn, still so much to grow, but I'm one step closer, right, to doing what I love to do. But Lily, yes, something a little bit about what I mentioned before, like there's so much pressure in society of like, women are more valuable if you are married, if you have children, which all of that is great, but that shouldn't determine our value, our worth. It should be based on other things that we do in life. And then being a family's expectation as well. It's like we get it from both sides. And then being Latino is just like on a whole nother level. I have to stop telling my mom to stop asking me when I'm going to have kids, because it's just, I don't know. So please stop asking me, right? So to me, it's just teaching women to love yourself, find yourself, this character. It's going to be messy, but learn from your mistakes. And it's a journey of self-love, self-discovery. And I think Lily is a girl that is so relatable to so many of us, because we don't always make the right decisions, but it's learning and how navigating life, and sometimes how you have to break the rules in order to get to places.
Yeah, it is. And I think with this show, I don't want to say the show started as something, but we're seeing a lot of this with a lot of films and TV, a lot of films, mostly like this generational trauma, that we're inheriting, if you're a first gen, for me at least, and kind of our relationship with our parents. It's very different for a lot of immigrants. We saw it with Encanto, for instance. We saw it with Turning Red. I don't know if you've seen Everything Everywhere All at Once.
I haven't yet. And you can see it. Harry is in it. Harry Shimon.
Yes, but it's covered in there. There is this, I'm like, oh wow, there's this whole thing breaking open about our relationships with our parents, and especially if you have immigrant parents, or whether they're first gen, second gen, whatever, but it's still kind of carried on. Did you all feel that in this story?
I mean,
not
I think
trauma
Gloria,
necessarily, but like,
I think that Gloria made a point that yes, our grandparents were immigrants, but I feel like she really wanted this to be an American story. In that, like, not obviously erasing by any means like culture or anything of the sort, but also kind of telling a story about like upper middle class Americans that happen to be Latino. Do you know what I mean? Because I think that a lot of, and again, I think that subverts a lot of narratives that we do see about Latinx bodies, is that they're impoverished or maids, or I mean, just name, the list goes on and on of all of those. I don't have to tell you about those stereotypes. And so I think that part of, again, like the subtext of the show is that like they are successful upper middle class Americans. That's what they are. And I think who happen to be Latino. I think that a lot of the, again, and I think that also is relevant to like Jorge and Sol's queerness, is that they are two people looking for love and falling in love who happen to be queer.
Yeah, I agree. That's
just a facet of their identity. It doesn't define them. And I think I think that that's really relatable, like to a lot of people's stories, is that whether they're a first generation or not, that one's ethnicity is just a facet of your identity, a very important one, but a facet. You know, there's so much more, there's so many other things.
Yeah, our themes are universal, you know, it's love, family, acceptance. Right. And I feel that's what makes With Love so timeless, because everyone can just see it and enjoy it.
Everyone wants those things.
Well, it's so weird when I talk about you know, people of color or queer people or anyone in the margins who are like the representation of it all in Hollywood. And I try to shy away from saying it's normalizing it to be queer or normalizing it to be a person of color, but that's kind of the only way I could frame it, because I think when I watched With Love, I was just like, oh, this 20 years ago would have been all white people. And then you go in like 2021, 2022, and you're like, oh, this makes sense. You know, it's just like, oh, this is the reflecting of the world. It's kind of like, it's kind of hard to explain. It's just like, we've been raised with so much, forgive me to say this, but like white content, you know, that we empathize with these people. We share their stories, but they didn't look like us, but we were kind of, it was the content we're given, so that we were like, oh, cool, you know, this is what we do. And it's kind of like this time of like, oh, okay, now the tables have turned. You have to empathize with our stories now. You have to see us, because, and then like, we're like, I do see this movement. It's a slow movement, but it's happening, right? And I'm seeing it with Love, and I think it's so beautiful. That sounds so corny, but it is, because I've never seen something like this before. And what Gloria has done, it's magic. I know I may be sounding Pollyanna about it, but it's just like, it's so magical. But for Leslie, you know, the audience for this conversation is obviously SAG-AFTRA members, and I'm sure you get asked this question a lot, being in casting and all. But what would you say is important when you're looking for talent?
You know, it depends on what we're looking for, but obviously the goal is to have somebody come in, like I said, just elevate the script, you know, bring some magic to it. But I think that, you know, ultimately the actors have to do the work. Like, they have to be prepared to come in the room, and that means taking classes, and you know, if you're in comedy, take improv classes and all that, so that you're actually ready when you get in. You know, sometimes it's a look. Sometimes, I mean, obviously it goes deeper than that, but I just, when somebody's in the room and they bring their own personality to it, their training to it, it just, the magic, like when you feel it in your gut, there's nothing more exciting than knowing that like, this is the perfect person for the part. And that's, you know, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure, I mean, a lot of aspiring actors are probably watching this, and, you know, sometimes we put so much pressure on ourselves on what do they want?
Yes.
I need to do what they want. What's on the paper? I'm just going to do what's on the paper. And I feel sometimes when you let that go,
yes,
and just really do it for yourself, like this is your one time to really just do the character. And if you make this choice that was completely wrong, but that's what you want to do it. And I feel that might be like the thing that might catch the acting directors.
Absolutely. And if it's the wrong choice and there's something there, we'll redirect you, you know, and if you don't get the part that you're coming in for at that moment, if you do a really good job, we'll remember you and bring you in for something else, you know? So, yeah.
Like, so obviously the landscape of Hollywood is, you know, ever evolving, and especially during this pandemic, things have happened. And this is casted so authentically. For Leslie, you know, how have you seen this landscape change in terms of casting and how people approach things? Like, when do you go to bat for someone when, you know, like, you know, people are disagreeing with you, or like just even in your past career, how have you seen like the casting process change for you, at least when you however long you've been doing your work?
You mean with diversity, or what do you mean?
Yeah, with diversity, just like or in general with casting authentically, roles, and just like everyone's like saying colorblind casting, or if that's even
true.
a thing. Yeah.
No, but when I cast for the roles, like this was kind of specific.
Yeah.
But I always bring in like, all choices, like all diverse choices. And it's really great that there's more opportunities for people, and people are more open-minded to it. And I think it's great. I don't think I have to fight anymore. Do you know what I mean? To say, could we make this person this? So yeah.
Okay.
It's much better.
So like within the series, was there a moment for each of you, like even with Leslie, after when you were watching it, where you realized, oh, we have something very special here?
Oh, every day on set, we just really felt special. I mean, we had 7 days to celebrate each holiday. Who gets time to do that? I mean, we barely have time to celebrate 5 minutes of a holiday, right? So I just feel that energy really just transcended to the behind the scenes of every day on set. I don't know. To me, like again, like Gloria, and just having her there and holding our hand and just coming in, like she was really present. I think today is so hard for a showrunner. Like you said, how does she multitask? Like how does she does everything? Like she's looking at dailies, yet she's present on set and giving us few lines. So, but just learning to be present, and she would make the set feel like very lived in. We didn't feel like we were working on a set. It was just a really good time. We just had fun. We were just happy to be working during COVID. And it might sound a little repetitive, but it's true. Like we're just, the little things just mean so much to me personally now after COVID, when you just realize how valuable time is. So it was just nice to have Gloria on set, to have everyone on set, and working on such like a really fun, inspiring show.
And and Gloria was just, I mean, I think that you feed off of the energy of someone that actually really wants to be there. I mean, I think that like Gloria was very, very excited about making the show. And I think that to make a show about that is rooted in like joy, like joyfulness, it kind of radiated off of her. And I think that, like days are long. And like making a show is not easy, and it's very strenuous, and it's hard for everyone involved. And I think that to circle back around to Gloria's just like unabashed like joyfulness, like she was just so happy to be making the show. And I think that really rubbed off on all of us. And again, like I also just think that like collaboration is like what makes me the most excited to like do my job. And being given like the space to kind of bring whatever it is that I want to bring, to make those bold choices, even if they don't work. And, I think that was also something that Gloria really, like, again, like really welcomed. And like my fellow castmates were also super excited to like play and to like, and spar with one another, if that makes sense. To kind of go off script sometimes, or to, you got to keep it fresh. Cause again, like days are long, and making a show is really, really hard.
And Gloria comes from multicam. So she knows that you have to listen to the audience. You have to listen to the laughing. Is the joke nailing, like what do we need to change, or do we just try something different just because?
Right. And I just feel like that sense of collaboration was really, really, again, it really lifts the mood. It really gets you excited. It really, it's like that jolt of energy that you need sometimes, is like that collaborative spirit. And I think that extends to like every single like aspect of making a show, right? I mean, like if you like the people you work with, and you like what you're making, and they're giving you the space to kind of be creative, like when you work in a creative field, I mean, that's kind of like the golden ticket, right?
Yeah. For you, Leslie, since you said you weren't on set, but you got to watch it and kind of like seeing the fruits of your labor, like how was it like?
Like, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, what was like, was there something special when you were watching it? What was like, was there a special moment or something that you saw that you're like, oh, this is a very special show?
No, I just even at the table read, which was on Zoom, but the cast just gelled, and I think that is what they're saying. I think it is stems from Gloria to make you feel like a family even before the table read. But watching the show, it was just, there's so many moments that were so special and tender and real and then funny, and it just, I don't know, in the tone of the show, it just all came together, and it just, like I said, it just made me smile, and it made me want more. I had so many of my friends and family reach out to me, and I've done a lot of stuff, and they and they were like, "Oh my God, this is amazing! This is so great!" And it was like, "Oh, it makes me so happy." So, but it's a beautiful show.
Oh, well, I think we are out of time, unfortunately. I mean, of course, we could talk for a long time because I like to talk. But on behalf of the SAG-AFTRA Foundation, I want to thank you for sharing your experiences, process, and craft with your fellow performers. Mark, Emeraude, Leslie, thank you so much for this show. So much love, as this title suggests, with love. Thank you all for joining us today.
Thank you for having us, and thank you for watching.
Thank you.